Alright, welcome back everybody to Fire Emblem. We're at the point when we are going to go into, I guess, Castle Caelid. And this level can be a little tricky. The reason it can be a little tricky is up in the top left-hand corner. You can also see a treasure chest in the current screen I'm in right now, but there is a treasure chest in the upper left-hand corner, same as Hector's normal mode. It contains a silver sword and a knight's crest. And while I would love to get that silver sword, I would basically have to send Marcus. I'd have to basically send Marcus to eat all of the experience on this board in order to get up there before the thieves start coming out of the stairwells. I'm not saying you couldn't do it without Marcus, but if you're really playing a Hector's hard mode and you haven't cheesed the shit out of Lynn's mode, it's going to be very difficult to get your guys close enough to those doors that they haven't already spawned and taken at least the sword, because the silver sword's the first treasure chest they go after. The second treasure chest, or maybe vice versa, I don't know. But basically, when they steal the knight's crest, you can kill the thief and steal the knight's crest. You cannot steal the knight's crest and then kill the thief to get the silver sword. Not how it works. And you can see even though Sane's at like 10 here or 11, these archers just nearly killed him. So the sitting back and playing defense is nice, but you have to accept the fact that you're not going to get the knight's crest, because by the time you make it up there to try to block the door from the thief leaving, he's already out the door, and you're not going to catch him. And you're not going to be able to kill him in time. So, that's probably the most difficult portion, I guess, of this mission. Obviously, you've got Raven, who is getting the Hector hard mode bonus. So he's getting a boost to his statistics, his base stats. And then, obviously, Raven's a very good character to use regardless you're playing in Hector's hard mode, but you're giving him extra bonus stats on all of his stats. All of his base stats he's getting, what, +1 or +2 on. So like you're gonna give him like 2 god level ups before I even get him, and then you can proceed to level him up to 20 and then 20 again. So he's already got like I said, a leg up over his competition. Plus, the mercenary class is I like the mercenary class because it gives you, it's again, I like well-rounded characters. I'd rather not have a sword master who's very highly based on doing critical damage, knowing that the crit's going to do 3 times damage, then to have a character that like I said, is oh, he got hit twice, he's dead. Give me a character that could take 3 or 4 hits, but isn't gonna one-shot everything he runs at. Because eventually that damage is gonna catch up. And I know Raven does a great job, at least in normal mode, of not only having the defense, but also having the skill and the speed, so he's very evasive as well. But again, in case he does get hit, you've got that as a backup, whereas, Guy and a lot of the sword masters well, they gotta avoid everything, because if they don't avoid everything, they're gonna die. Which is fair, because typically sword masters are harder to hit, and you want to try to equip them with a high percentile critical damage things. So high skill, high speed, high luck, high, probably better than you can possibly imagine strength, and normally, at least in 7, higher strength than you could possibly imagine one of your sword users getting, and then yeah, they're very deadly. You look at Lloyd and Linus. Linus, whichever sword master, I think it's Linus. He's very dangerous because he's got the skill and the speed and the luck and the strength. So you put one of those super weapons that's supposed to crit constantly, that does a ton of damage, and he, like I said, he's way more dangerous than his brother is. But in this game, they don't give your sword masters the strength, you know, to do that, or their constitution's not nearly high enough, and they're taking penalties due to weight of certain weapons. But if you watch the original Everyloyalson/Hector playthrough, you've heard me complain about all these subjects already, so we'll skip that, at least for now. Do. I always find it weird when I'm sitting down at my to record these things. My mouse is some sort of Logitech mouse, kind of basic. I like it for what it does. It has your 2 side buttons, 2 top buttons, a scroll wheel, and then there's a 3rd button that I guess you can customize. I use it as a way to speed up or slow down my mouse whenever I'm playing. Depends on what game I'm playing. Like, for instance, it's designed to be played as like a first-person shooter thing. So, you know, you have your quick mouse movements, and then you snap into like a more accurate mouse movement. So you can go back and forth and like look around, and then all of a sudden, whenever you see someone, you press that middle mouse button, and it goes into like slow mouse movement mode, and then you hit the shot, and then you switch it back to regular quick mode. You don't have to do that, obviously, because I'm sure many infinite number of actual good people who play FPSs will tell you don't need that at all, period. You just learn when your reflexes are, where when to actually hit the button, and the speed thing, the camera movement shouldn't affect you at all. So, yeah. Been very busy at work recently. I wouldn't say it's not fun. I like going to work every day. I don't get up, go, I'm gonna call off today because I just don't feel like going to work today. Which occasionally happened at, not my previous job, but at the call center. I'd get 10 days off of work a year, and basically those days were non-scheduled vacation days. So if you got sick, it came out of the pool. You had to take a vacation, it came out of the pool. If for some reason you needed to take a half day because you need to go to the doctor's, it comes out of the pool. So you really gotta plan your days ahead of time because they had little to no tolerance for unexcused absences. So if you, say, used a week of vacation, so that's 7 out of 10 days, that left you with 3 days. Or I'm sorry, Monday through Friday, Chris. Even though we worked weekends as well, you'd work like a split week and then you'd work on a Saturday or a Sunday. Anywho, let's get to the point of my story, okay? So what would end up happening is you would use 5 days for vacation, and you'd have 5 days left, okay? And then maybe one morning you didn't feel like going into work, so you take another day off. Now you're down to 4. Then say you have a doctor's appointment, now you're down to 3. And then you get sick, you have to be out for a week. You're gonna be lucky if you have a job by the end of that week. Because basically what you should have done, and I understand it's the very non-friendly employee policy, but as I mentioned earlier, call center really did not care because it was easier to train your replacement than it was to try to promote you or keep you on. Because I think very much that at least the philosophy at that time in the call center was you're super disposable. At very best, we'll get rid of you and hire someone else. At very worst, we'll move the entire call center over to India. So, but we haven't done that. I understand why you wouldn't want to do that because let me tell you what, I do not want to talk to anyone from a foreign country. If I need customer service help, I do not want to talk to someone from, India, South Korea, Pakistan, wherever they're from. And it has nothing to do with nationalism or racism or whatever you want to label this. It has everything to do with I can't understand a fucking word you're saying. In a lot of cases, you don't seem to care what I have to say either. Like, you have no reference for what I'm talking about. It's just like, how can I help you? Okay, sir. Well, I can't do that for you right now, sir. It's like, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? I think so, sir. Okay. And I get it. Call centers, not glamorous work. No, you don't get paid well. In a lot of cases. Some I'm sure you do. But, I don't know. The whole telephone thing, people don't want to be on the line. They don't want to wait, first of all. They don't want to wait on the line for very long. But the call center is not designed for you to have a quick experience. It's designed to be the most efficient thing for the company. See what I was telling about the silver sword thing? You saw the other thief run off because I guess he could have gone into the thing. By the time he gets into there, the other thief's gonna steal it anyway, so yeah, hopefully that thief wasn't carrying anything important. Anywho, like I said, the call center doesn't care because instead of giving you a raise, they can just fire you and get a new person, train a new person. Which, little strange to me because there was about a month's worth of training that went into it because there's a lot of regulations, government regulations you need to be aware of when you're on the phone, and handling customer information can sometimes be a matter that's a little private. It's not quite medical level private where, yes, sir, I see that you've been married to your wife for 50 years. Yes, I understand that you've loved this woman from the day you met her. Yes, I understand you couldn't possibly imagine your life without her. But your name is not on the list of people that I'm allowed to release information to. So by law, I am not allowed to talk to you if I want to keep my job. It stinks, it's awful, I know, but it's the legal world we live in, and you cannot legally talk to anybody. You're a hospital person. You legally cannot talk to anybody unless they have already been signed off on, and even then, sometimes they can't talk to you. Because they need a reason, you know, permission. So for instance, I go to the doctor's office, I get a shot, you know, am I allowed to tell, are we allowed to talk to, say, your wife or your parents about this? You say, yeah, I don't fucking care about that, that's fine. But you might care if, say, you went and got a test and found out you were infertile or you had an STD. Yeah, no, that's a little bit of a different subject, even though I understand that also falls under the realm of medical. Anyway. So, you make again, get back to my story. I don't know what my original story was anymore. I tend to forget very quickly, apparently. Boy, I wish I remember what I was originally talking about. But I've just gone right on my head. I'm just thinking about the call center again. Curious. But oh yeah, I remember I was talking about my work. Well, things are starting to pick up again. They're getting busy again. I'm getting to the point where it's getting more and more difficult to handle the stuff that I normally am doing. And I don't know if it's because I'm taking on too much outside work, i.e. stuff that really doesn't fall necessarily within my job description, but technically also does. Just sort of give you an idea, I'm the purchaser at my company. I do all the purchasing, period. So I don't really have an assistant or a supervisor. I'm my own department. And for the most part, it's not hard. They tell me, you know, they say, hey, I need 15 of this motor. I order 15 of that motor. And generally, because the customers or the manufacturers have to be approved. Generally, I'm not the one doing the approval. It's usually the engineers, because they're the ones working with other engineers to make sure that the motors and stuff that we sell meets the specs that they're designing for. Okay, so it's not me necessarily picking out vendors, though I can, if there are multiple vendors, pick between the one that are the least expensive, or in some cases get our stuff quicker but maybe cost a little bit more money, you know, figuring out those little logistic-y things. But recently I've noticed that I'm starting to fall behind in my work, and I had time today, and this is why I realized today is I actually had some free time to work on stuff that I've been sort of putting off for the last week. And one of the things is I got to make sure that the orders that I put in are being confirmed back via email. There's in our program, there's a little check mark box that indicates, you know, essentially the vendor has responded to you. Now, that could mean anything from very basically, hey, I acknowledge your PO, or your PO is accepted. I sometimes just get those emails. All the way down to a full-blown acknowledgement, hey, we're verifying your price, your quantity, your due date, etc. And I went in this, after finishing off my regular work, I took a look in my system, and I take it and I say, well, how many open orders do I have that I haven't clicked the confirm button on? And we'll say, I don't know how many, because there's a running, like, table of the last, we'll say 20, orders I've placed, okay? So, most recent orders at the top, you know, obviously as you go down, it starts to dip into the second, third, whatever number of pages we're at, okay? It's hundreds of pages, we'll just say. Because we've been using the same system for about 4 or 5 years, and, you know, we've probably got... How many orders we got now? Probably about 14,000 orders, you know. Not all of those, obviously, are stuff that I've ordered. Some of that stuff is like, well, we needed someone to come in and look at the heater. Okay, so I did put that bill in, but that's not really something I ordered so much as it was a service, and we're recording the services coming in. I had 8 pages of unconfirmed orders. And that's a lot of orders. So I have to go back through my email to double check. Was I just rushing and I was just checking the price and I was skipping over one step because it's going to save me 5 or 6 seconds now, but it's going to cost me 30 seconds to a minute by having to go back and do the research. But when you need the 30, you need that 5 or 10 second extra seconds to get your work done in a normal 8-hour day, you sacrifice your time later for the time you have now. Is sad, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm now at the point where I'm taking on too much work. Again, and side note, I also tend to do work that doesn't actually fall in my job description, because pretty much everything from the time when I order a product to the time when it comes to the door and it needs to be matched up with an invoice, that's my job, okay? But once it leaves my desk and goes to accounting for payment, if there's any mistakes in there and I did not make those mistakes, it really shouldn't be. You can argue it's my fault as well for not picking up on the mistake, but technically, as I see it, it's not really my fault either. If shipping didn't receive enough pieces or something, and they didn't notate that to me, I can't exactly say, oh, well, that's my fault for missing that. Or they forgot to receive the product and just, I don't know. I'm spending too much time tracking down things that weren't received correctly, or things that aren't being billed quite correctly. You know, where we're getting billed for 15 pieces when in reality we received 16. I don't know. You could argue, yes, that's part of your job, Chris. I personally take it that I'm going to do whatever I can to help you out, the accounting people, as best I can. I'm not going to try and screw you over. But, in the same regard, I'm busy with my own shit. You got to cut me some slack sometime. I get it, everybody's busy, everybody's overworked, blah, blah, blah. And I never know if it's because, well, you know, we're paying our work, we've got a lot of workers, and we're paying them, we're just not seeing the profits quite yet to justify hiring another person. Or it's, well, let's see how much money we can make. And our companies keep getting bigger and bigger every year, and we are hiring more people, but it's most of that stuff is a lot of it becomes, and it really depends, I guess, on your viewpoint. They're hiring more people, more laborers, which is important because the more work you have that needs to go out in a timely fashion, the more workers, the more hands you need. But on the back end of that, eventually you're going to start needing more people to design parts, you're going to need more people to handle the paperwork, or you're going to have to come up with a more efficient way of doing things. I mean, I'm not really for the whole, well, let's hire a lot of people, and then when we figure out a more efficient way of doing things, we'll fire them all. I don't really think anyone should lose their job to a computer system or to AI or whatever the current boogeyman is in the work world that's going to eliminate jobs. But you also have to understand that as work becomes more efficient and we're able to produce more goods for less money, and the cost of items are not going down but going up, you have to be willing to share those profits with your coworkers, or at a certain point you may find it very difficult to get stuff done, because not because you're not able to meet your own, get your own ends to meet, but because the only people you're able to recruit routinely happen to be people that are not the top. They're not the best workforce you can get, essentially. You're getting sort of the bottom of the barrel people. Fortunately, Merlinus is going to die here. I can tell already, because he's going to take... Yeah, he's down to 5. And there's no reason that, based on the fact that Archer passed me, that horse Archer passed me already, that he's going to choose Oswin over Merlinus. He's going to murder Merlinus. Which isn't a super big deal, because he'll just come back next turn, but I won't have the ability to use his special I'm storing extra things I receive ability. Yeah, so we're gonna move Hector in here somewhere. I'm gonna try to get Elwood in here as well, because I believe the boss has got some variation of like a throwing axe or something. I'm hoping to use that to my advantage so that Elwood takes the boss experience this round. That should be a full level up, like 100 XP. Raven, Lucius, you're too far out now. You're not really going to serve any purpose for me. And I'll make sure I gobble up the last of the Kaelin Green Knights that are roaming about, because they are like lemmings and they insist on throwing themselves into pits instead of actually staying where they're at, so that I can gather a bigger bonus later. Even with Kent Thane or whoever talking to them, they do not stop moving. It's obnoxious. Anyway. So I'm using Lynn, as you guys see, as you can see. Not sure how practical this choice is going to be. Everyone always says, well, you shouldn't use Lynn, you shouldn't use Elwood in Hector's mode. They're kind of worthless. And I get that. You're kind of having to baby them, very much so. But I kind of look at it as I've played other Fire Emblem games. Not all Fire Emblem games is your lord or main character supposed to be, God made flesh, in terms of a fighter. Certainly, you can look at certain games where your lord tends to be one of your strongest characters. I like to say Ike in 9 is pretty strong. He can usually handle his own pretty well in that series. Genealogy, I wouldn't say entirely, but the Lord tends to handle his own pretty well. He acts almost like his own Jigen in a way. But again, Holy War is a little different, because there's not really a situation where you really feel like, well, I don't want to use this character because he's overpowered. It's just kind of, you use the guys you're given and don't worry about it, because you're only given a limited number of guys, and whatever guys you have is literally your army. There's no benching anyone. You can bench people if you want in that game, but you're denying yourself the use of certain characters. So, what else? A great example, I guess, of a underpowered lord would be the first one, Marth. I mean, God, Marth can't class up in the first game. He's kind of okay, but not great. And really his only purpose is to survive long enough to put his ass on top of a capture spot, whether that be a throne or a fort or whatever. That's like his main goal. And yeah, you kind of want to train him because you don't want him to accidentally slip in the range of a reinforcement with Flyer or something, but I don't know. We're going to finish this up. I'm going to see if anyone needs healed, and then we'll just capture the throne and be done with this level, and we'll move on to the pirate level, the one that goes, "Arg, you Bakuvle, how dare you."